Okay, before we get started today, I'd like to make a quick announcement. Over the last several years, I have spent a lot of time working with investors just like you, investors who have started their business, got it off the ground, got a little bit of momentum, but just don't know how to scale up from there. They don't know how to take a small business doing a deal here and there and really systemize it and scale it up in a profitable way. I have been helping people for so many years do exactly that. I did it in my own business first, and then I helped other people replicate that success in their business. And my announcement to you is that I am ready to help you do the exact same thing right now. I have developed a program that's called the 7-Figure Investor Blueprint, and it's called that because I want to take you from wherever you are in your business right now and help you ramp it up into a 7-figure profit business. You can do this. I know you've told yourself that you want to do it, and for whatever reason, it's just not working out. But I want to teach you things like how to market, to find the best deals, how to analyze those deals, how to negotiate with sellers and wholesalers to get the best possible deals, how to get those deals funded, whether it's private funding, hard money lending, whatever. I want to help you understand the best way for you to fund those deals, and then how to structure those deals for maximum profit. And then finally, how to build a team around you. You don't have to do everything in your business. And in fact, you shouldn't be doing everything. I don't do everything in my business, and it runs really, really well. In fact, it runs better when I'm not trying to do everything. And I want to teach you exactly how to do that. All you have to do, if this sounds interesting to you, if this sounds like something that you must do in 2022 to reach your goals, go to 7figureinvestor.com. That's the word 7figureinvestor.com. Sign up. I want to help you this year achieve all of your business goals, but you have to go and sign up first. It's the word 7figureinvestor.com. I cannot wait to see you inside the program. We are going to do great things this year.
It doesn't matter how much money you have or how good your credit score is or any of that. You need to educate yourself.
You know what? I think it's almost worse if you have a lot of money when you start, because you'll lean on that.
I'm happy you said that. Yep.
You're listening to the Just Start Real Estate podcast. If you're serious about your real estate investing business and need real answers, you are in the right place. And now, your host, Mike Simmons.
Hey, thank you for joining me on Just Start Real Estate. I appreciate it. Welcome back. If you've been a listener in the past, if you listen regularly, welcome back. I appreciate it. If you're new, welcome to the show. Hopefully, we meet or exceed your expectations of what you think this podcast is going to be. I do have a good one for you guys today. I have a former professional basketball player turned real estate investor. He is the CEO of United Home Relief. He's also the founder of a youth basketball camp called AboveMAX Basketball, and he's an author. He wrote the book Overcome: The Key to Unlocking Your Superhuman. He's been featured on Yahoo, Disrupt Magazine, Big Time Daily, lots of publications. He is a rising star in the real estate world. He has not been in it that terribly long, just like 3 years now, but he's absolutely crushing it. He's got some great messages, and his rise to success that he's had thus far has been pretty fast and pretty impressive, and he's learned a ton along the way, and we talk about all of that, guys. So get ready, buckle up. I give you Art Morrison III. Hey, Art, thanks for being here on the show, man. I appreciate your time. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, I'm so excited for this interview. I watched a bunch of your episodes, and
cool.
I'm really excited. So,
all right. Well, thanks for doing that. I tell you what, I know some people come onto the show from time to time and they don't have the slightest idea who I am, what's going on. And not that you should know who I am, but I appreciate the homework. I do homework on my end. I appreciate when people come prepared. So thanks for doing that.
Yeah, my goal was to watch one, and I watched 20 because they were all so informative, and I'm still learning. So, yeah. That's
an endorsement. Thanks, man. I appreciate that. So let's get into it. I want to talk a little bit about your background. And I don't want to spend too much time because I know people are here for the real estate. They're here for the nuggets and they want to get some gold bombs. But just for context, tell the folks who are listening a little bit about who you are, where you come from.
Yep. So my name is Art Morrison III. I'm intentional about the third piece because my dad he didn't have as fortunate of a life that I had when I was younger. My mom used to get on me if I didn't use the third because, I came from a family, my dad was in and out of prison, that kind of scenario, right? So at the time, my claim to fame was basketball. So I played basketball my whole life, ended up playing professionally up until 2014, 2015. And then after that, I dove into entrepreneurship because even in professional basketball, it was having a job, didn't like it. Started AboveMAX Basketball, my youth basketball organization. Wasn't enough money, dove into real estate. So now here I am. I applied everything I learned through basketball and being an entrepreneur, put it into real estate and have experienced some success. So I'm a former professional athlete turned real estate entrepreneur, and I couldn't be happier for that transition. So
I love that. And I have a question for you. And I love asking former current athletes who are in, business in general, but real estate obviously is who people I'm talking to. What do you think, not just professional sports, but playing sports in general, what did that do for you? How did that, if any impact at all, how did it impact your business life?
Yeah, this is a great question. And I get asked it so often. Every time my answer is different because there's so much value from playing a sport, being an athlete, or being a part of any sort of organization that requires discipline at a young age. Yep. I don't care if it's Boy Scouts. I don't care if it's dance, which I guess is a sport. But what I'm saying is that the discipline, the character building, the commitment, when you apply that to entrepreneurship or business in general, you're setting yourself up for success. And for me, because my background was a little rougher and I was so hungry to achieve success, and I had early on practice at pouring into, in this case, basketball. Any time that I got into that mentality of hunger, it allowed me to just click it on. So in real estate, when, if I didn't feel like we had enough deals, I didn't feel like we were raising capital at the pace that we needed to, I could just click it on because I know what it felt like, whether it was in a game or just in life, what it means to, okay, it's time to win. Hey, this ain't the game ain't going in the direction that we need it to go. It's time to change it. Do I got to lock in on defense? Do I need to score more? What do I need to do? So that character building, that discipline, that commitment, that persistence, applying it to business really helped me and will help anyone who's.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think people, you don't have to have sports in your background to be successful in business, but I do see that people who have some sort of team sport or even individual sport, something where they had to sacrifice blood, sweat, tears, all that, it does help them in business because it doesn't always go perfectly. Every day isn't like raining money, right? Every day can be different and some days are really challenging. And if you don't have that discipline to get off the mat and go again, it's going to be really, really tough. If you had a coddled life where everything just sort of went your way and your parents gave you, awards for trying and, all that stuff that we kind of make fun of now. But honestly, if you haven't developed that inner discipline, it'll be even tougher for you, I think, to make a go of it in business.
Absolutely. So, I mean, overcoming adversity is really I gave a long version of saying that, overcoming adversity. But then you just mentioned the team aspect. And, I'm sure we're going to dive in on here how I'm huge on a team in real estate because I started with no money. My credit was bad. I needed a team in order to get to even where I am today. Yeah. And that was huge. I was, even at my college, when I was playing college ball, the youngest team captain. I was a captain as a freshman, long story short. Yeah. Because I just had this leadership quality. I communicated well. That was big. I had experience in playing for a lot of coaches, right? When I was younger, my parents were divorcing. I went to 5 high schools. Okay. So I understood that. So when it was time for me to dive into business and real estate, I knew exactly how to communicate with people, what makes people tick, how to incentivize people. And I became a master of team building, which ultimately led to me doing pretty well in the syndication space. Yeah,
I love that. So let's talk about it. You got out of basketball, I think you said 2014-15 timeframe. What did you do first? What was your first instinct? I think did you start, is that where you started the basketball camp? Is that when that happened?
I started a basketball organization just because I loved entrepreneurship and my talent at the time was basketball. Yeah. And I stopped playing basketball because my career was only a 2-year career and it was rocky because of you had injury. Yeah. Playing basketball in Europe isn't like the NBA. You may or may not get paid. A team might lose a sponsor and they got to cut you and you got to get another team. Agents steal money. It's a very different, more corrupt league, or it's a bunch of leagues, but federation than it is like the NBA. So because of that, the volatility, I was like, I can't come home and go through that again by getting a job. Because ultimately, when you get a job, and I don't job shame, but when you have a job and you're working for someone else's corporation, you don't have the control over what happens when things like COVID happens or there's financial issues and they have to make cuts. You don't have control. And I needed to take control. So I started my youth basketball organization, and I was doing well. I was doing well in a space that doing well is here. Real estate is a space where doing well is like something that where I'm from, we've never even seen. So I said, okay, this is just simple math. If I apply this same effort and talent and all that stuff into something like real estate where the sky is the limit. Right. I knew I would, like, I literally knew I would be successful. I just knew it. Because I just was in an industry that had a ceiling.
Absolutely. So what year did you dive into real estate? How did you find it? Find it. Everyone knows about real estate. What was the spark for real estate?
So I gotta shout out my older brother, who's Jay Morrison. He was always into real estate. He was the first success that I saw from like my immediate family. I remember coming out of basketball practice in high school. One of my teammates' dads was a doctor, and he drove a 2006 Range Rover. But my brother, who's in real estate, who's like been to prison and all this other stuff, also drove a 2006 Range Rover. And I came out of practice and I got in the wrong car. I got in the doctor's car instead of my older brother's, right? My older brother was like 25, 26, but he was crushing wholesaling at the time before like wholesaling was huge now. So that I seen real estate success early when I was tunnel vision on basketball, but I knew it was there. So that was huge for me. So after I decided to get into real estate, it was around 2018. But because my older brother was already in it, I literally was secretively doing it. I didn't want to put myself out there because I didn't want people to think I was just like following in his footsteps or just like, so I was secretly doing market research, marketing to sellers directly, stumbling over deals until I eventually got my first deal at the end of 2018 going into 2019. I did a successful wholesale, but like stayed in it on the back end to learn flipping kind of syndication thing I put together. And from there it was over. So
just a quick question for you. Quick question. So you were doing kind of wholesaling back then, and you were marketing to sellers directly. First of all, where was that? What market were you in when you were doing
so
that?
I was in, I call it the worst market ever, but I was in New Jersey, Central Jersey, middle-class New Jersey. And, central, like literally smack dab in the middle. So not like New York market, not like Philly market. I don't know if you're familiar with New Jersey, but like north is New York, Philly south, and then the middle is like kind of this desert of business. It's like weird, but that's where I was.
Let me ask you this, and I'm a marketing nerd a little bit, so I'm just curious. Were you sending letters, postcards, something else? What were you sending out?
So this is before I knew any of that. So my first wholesale deal was a neighbor's house. I was living in my best friend's basement. He's sitting right here. I was living in his basement trying to figure it out. And I had all this real estate knowledge, so I knew what a motivated seller looked like. So my marketing skills were like bandit signs. I got a bunch of tickets because I didn't even understand the laws behind bandit signs. I was posting on Instagram a lot, which I ended up getting a deal from Instagram. But I was just doing the ways that I knew how to market from like my basketball company. I didn't even get into like how you're really supposed to market in real estate. Like I'm young in the game. Now I would consider myself like a marketing buff, and I can't wait to get into some of the techniques that we use now. But at the time, it was just I go on walks a lot when I'm on phone calls, and I saw my neighbor put in a for sale by owner sign in the window. So I just walked up to him. I didn't know him because the house was vacant for some time. And I said, you're selling that house? I'm Art. I'll buy it. Take the sign down now. And we got into attorney review the next day. We came to terms, and I had the potential to make $40,000 my first wholesale deal.
Wow.
I took 20 in the form of $5,000 a month, and the person I sold it to let me in on the back end of the deal and agreed to mentor me in fixing and flipping.
Nice.
So I had this whole fun. It was like, but now that I'm telling this story, it sounds like it was like meant to be, like I don't know if you believe in God or whatever, the universe, but it was like, the sun was shining on this property as this guy puts it for sale by owner house. And I think his mom passed away, left them the house. They tried running it, didn't go well. Like a perfect distressed seller.
Sure, that's exactly perfect. And the fact that you got him to take his sign out of the yard right away was awesome, right? So you didn't have a lot of competition, it doesn't sound like.
Yeah, I mean, I knew the power of off-market deals. I already knew. So I knew, let me get the sign out the window. Mind you, the sign he was putting in the window, I always tell the story. It was a terrible sign. I couldn't even read it from the street, and I was walking on the sidewalk.
Oh, that's funny.
So I knew that he was someone that just didn't know. And most of the time when whether you're wholesaling or trying to find properties, the big thing is offering a solution to people that just don't know.
Yeah.
He just knows I don't want to pay commission.
Yep.
So I'm going to put this little sign from Home Depot in the window and hope somebody calls or texts it.
Too funny.
He doesn't care. So I knew all of that. Everything I'm saying now is all I knew at the time. I didn't know marketing or real estate. I just knew I have to be a solution to this guy. He's going to be pumped, and I'm going to get a house for a discount.
That's huge. And honestly, I think that's like a message that I think sometimes is overlooked. Everyone gets all concerned about running the numbers. How much am I going to make? What's renovation? Yeah. At the end of the day, if you don't find someone who's motivated to sell their house, you're probably going to pay too much because you're excited to get your deal. You need to find motivation. If you've got motivation, you can make anything work. You just need motivation. And you obviously had that in your first deal.
That's major. I wrote a blog about that deal. I was so pumped about it. And in the blog, I said, just jump in and figure it out when I was talking about real estate. So I'm happy you brought up running numbers, because I kind of knew the numbers well enough to like make an offer. Like, I didn't really know. It was my first deal ever. So what did I do? I ran to everyone who I thought maybe would know.
Yeah.
Whether it was blog posts or Facebook group, realtors, people I knew in the industry. Like, my instinct was to seek mentorship or seek education. And a lot of people skip that part too. I have so many people that are like, I want to do what you do, man. I got 100K in the bank. And I'm like, okay. It doesn't matter how much money you have or how good your credit score is or any of that. You need to educate yourself.
You know what? I think it's almost worse if you have a lot of money when you start, because you'll lean on that.
I'm happy you said that. Yep.
People who start with nothing, they learn real fast how to find a good deal and make money, right? People with a lot of money, sometimes will make a mistake.
People with a lot of money are handicapped. I coach a lot of people, and the ones who don't have anything almost always have the most success because they're listening to everything that you're saying.
Yep.
They're taking notes. They're more attentive. Whereas the people with capital already are more likely to put the cart before the horse.
Yep.
And just want to dive into the deal. And a lot of times my biggest coaching win is by letting them, go out there, lose your shirt, and come right on back. And now let's learn the way we're supposed to. Because sometimes you got to lose in this game too, which I'm sure we're going to get to on this episode.
Well, people who have a lot of money to lose will lose it. You know what I mean? Like, they're willing to lose it, they'll lose it. Yeah. So let's get into it. So you did wholesaling first for a while. And again, like, we could be here for hours, right? Just diving into everything. Yeah. But I really want to make sure people understand, because this is something that it's not unique, but I think the speed and how early you did it is a little unique. You went from doing wholesaling for just a short amount of time to syndications.
Yeah.
And so why? Why? First of all, what did you like about wholesaling? First of all, I think I know, but I want to hear you say what you liked about wholesaling, and then why did you feel a need to do anything else?
Great question. Amazing question. You've done your research. So that wholesale deal was my first and almost only wholesale deal.
Okay.
But it wasn't even a wholesale deal because of the way that I structured it.
Yeah.
So I had syndicated actually my first deal. And the reason why I jumped to that was because I knew that wholesaling was a volume play, and I knew myself, and I knew I wasn't even the type of personality to do 40 deals a month at a national average of $10,000, right? Like, I just knew that wasn't me if I wanted to get to being wealthy.
Yeah.
So I knew that national average on a flip, right, was 60,000. I also knew from studying all these years that I was hiding in real estate that wholesaling isn't the only no money down strategy. I knew that at the level of commercial buildings or skyscrapers, it's done using what everyone's saying is OPM, other people's money, whether it's institutionalized, raised capital funds, whatever. So I was like, if I can obtain 90%, 80% LTV from a hard money lender, the other 20% is what I have to come up with. I know people usually save syndicating for big deals, but what if I applied it to smaller deals and just raise capital privately? Mind you, I was so young in the game, I didn't realize how little $50,000 was in real estate. You know what I mean? 25. I didn't understand that was like, people are like, oh yeah, here, you need 50 here. Yeah. So once I got wind of that, then we were able to scale our marketing and be able to do, 10 flips a year later on, but it happened fairly quick. That first year we did that deal. We bought our first multifamily with the money that we made from the deal that I just described to everyone. Yep. And then we got, from posting on Instagram about the first deal, we got someone else off Instagram who I went to high school with. Their neighbor was selling their home. So we were able to literally do the same thing with a different investor or partner. Nice. I collected a wholesale fee, but like kind of syndicated my way into the back end so that I can shadow it, make cool with the contractor. Yeah. Now like I have, not only was I syndicating these deals, but I was also syndicating my company. All of these people I still work with now. We have long-term partnerships. So nice. I was setting up for scale. But to answer your question, what made me want to do it was I liked the idea of actually owning it. Like my obsession with entrepreneurship, owning my own destiny, was the same reason why I was obsessed with owning the property. Yeah. So I'm like, wholesaling is cool, but I never really own it. And I want to build some net worth for myself, longevity, right? And I knew, like with syndication, I can do the same like no money down type strategy, but actually own it. Yeah. And be able to, we can get into burst strategy and stuff later, which I still didn't learn until later, but be able to own it for myself. I don't even need partners on it if I can get the deal low enough and all that kind of stuff. But it just kept getting more and more exciting, to answer your question.
So what are you into, as far as the real estate goes? I watched a couple of your YouTube videos and I saw that you and your brother were standing in a building that you own, a commercial building. What kind of real estate now are you investing in? Is it all commercial? Is it some still residential, or what is it you look for?
Great question. So the building that my brother and I were in, he is the founder and manager of the Tulsa Real Estate Fund, which is the first ever Black-owned real estate crowd fund, which is really cool. So that building was acquired with that fund, which is amazing. It's our family fund. We're very excited about it. But me personally, we have a fix and flip kind of wing in New Jersey because that's how we started. We have a team built for that.
And that wasteland you talked about, are you doing it there? I'm
calling it a wasteland, and now I just relocated to Florida, Tampa, Florida, which is a hot market. It's competitive, but it's hot. Yeah. And it's just so much easier to market. People are just way more responsive. There's just more to go around. Yeah. But anywho, so but also it's a wasteland, but that was where it was my hometown where I was born and raised. So the connections there almost make it not a wasteland because it's an easy area to dominate. If someone thinks of real estate, they're thinking of me, and I'm getting, without even marketing, I'm getting motivated sellers. That's awesome. Blowing up our phone. So we have that there. On a national scale, we're looking at syndicating. We're staying still between like the 4 and 10 unit commercial. We're not going really too big because again, that whole story I just told was late 2018, early 2019. We're sitting here and it's 2022, so we're kind of crawling before we're walking. But this is the year where we really want to basically let loose, take the leash off, and not be afraid to make mistakes. We've built our company to the point where we have a little cushion, educationally and financially. So our ultimate goal is to find a niche. And I think that niche is going to be commercial multi-units in markets that we can short-term rent.
Still under 10, or is this the year where you go more than 10? And if under 10, why? I want to know why. I'm curious.
The only reason why under 10 is management.
Okay.
Property management, project management. I'm conservative. All my partners tell me I'm too conservative. So
this is the year to let the leash off, though. You said
that's what I'm saying. Right. So this is the year where we'll break over town. So that's what I'm saying. Not under 10. Definitely want to let the leash off for sure. Okay. Everyone who's an expert will tell you that it just takes one property, a 100-unit property, and now it's way less work than doing 10 units.
Yeah, that's what I've always heard. It's almost like no man's land to be in that like 10 to 20, 30, whatever. Like that's the hardest one to do. That's why I'm asking, because I've always heard too from people I've interviewed, like I wouldn't even think about doing something under 50 units. It's just the same amount of work, but like it's harder for less pay or whatever. Like go big, right? So, but I'm not in that space, so I'm not trying to push that. I was more curious.
I'm on this podcast acting scared, But eventually I'm going to be back on here and I'm going to be like, yeah, man, I was doing 10 units. I was stupid. 150 units or more. I want to get there. That's definitely ultimately the goal. Just trying to figure out when strategically so that we don't get ourselves in a bad situation. Like even last year was the first year we really dove into compliance. I wasn't even aware of compliance. Luckily, I was compliant because I was raising capital privately among people who were loved ones, friends and family for a long time. I wasn't necessarily aware of it until my brother, who, like I told you, has a fund, was like, bro, are you doing X, Y, Z, this, that? Okay, here are my compliance attorneys.
Yeah.
You're growing. That's good. You're killing it. But some of the Instagram posts you might have put up might be flirting the line.
Yeah.
Let's clean that up. So that was last year. So this year, with the plans of scaling and everything that we're saying, we want to make sure it's airtight. That's the only reason why I would remain conservative. Yeah. Would really be like a capital reason, and making sure that we can manage it in the way that we've been managing what we've been doing. But you're right, man. Scared money don't make no money.
Hey, I'll tell you what, though. One thing I heard recently, and I love this analogy, and they said, the guy who said it was like, when you're on the ground, you look up at a mountain top and you say, I want to get there. I want to get to the top of the mountain. And when you get to the top of that mountain, suddenly you can see all the other bigger mountains around you, and now you can see their peaks. And so I think I'm not really making fun. I'm really just more want to have the conversation for the folks listening who say, I'm afraid to do 100, 200. Like, there's no way, man. Like, I want them to hear that you started off doing much smaller units and work your way up, because it's like you can't see those huge mountains when you're on the ground, but you climb to that first mountain and you look up and go, now I can see the peak of the other mountain, and then you climb to that mountain. So it's a process. Nobody really, unless they were born into crazy money in a real estate family, they're not hitting the ground buying 100, 200 unit. It just doesn't start that way. Everybody starts wholesaling, flipping, that kind of thing, landlord. And if they want to get into that, they work their way up. So I'm more teasing you. I totally know you'll end up with huge buildings. I know it.
It's my claim to fame. I do not mind being transparent about still being a part of that journey.
Sure.
I share that even with all my clients. I got to get checked sometimes. My partners will say, like, they'll just remind me of where we are. When we flipped our first property by ourselves, without any mentors or weird syndications, we did our first property by ourselves. It was my whole life. I was posting about it every day. I'm like, I can't believe it. And we made a nice little 6-figure check. And I'm like, man, this is amazing. That was the only flip that we did that year. The next year we did 10. But both of those milestones, if you would have caught me on a podcast like this, I would have spoken about them. Like before them, I would have spoken about them the way I just spoke about 100 units. Like, oh, well, we just want to, you know. So I understand the journey, but I do understand that the only thing holding me back is me. And it is like, you do got to understand the journey, but you also got to not be afraid to like take that next step, because the next step is real. It's not like I'm saying I'm going to do anything historic. Like I wouldn't be the first person who bought 100 units, 500 units, 1,000 units, just like I wasn't the first person to flip a house or flip 10 houses in a year. Even 10 in a year is like, I listen to podcast episodes and like, yeah, we're flipping 150 a year. I have one of my partners does 150 flips a year. Yep. So it's realistic. So you can, use someone else's story, just like someone maybe could use my story.
Totally. And if I have my investor hat on, I'm listening to you saying, good, I want to invest with someone who doesn't bite off more they can chew, someone who takes it a progression. So from an investor standpoint, it's exactly what I want to hear. I don't want to hear some guy going caution to the wind. I don't care what I know. I don't care what I don't know. I'm just going to do it and hope for the best, right? Like there's something to be said for not like putting the cart before the horse kind of a thing. So I think that's awesome. Can you talk to me a little bit about, and we don't have tons of time, but I want to dive into just a little bit how
we can do a part 2 episode, man.
Like, that's true. That's true. We can do a part 2, but I want to hear a little bit about your raising money. I heard you say you've been doing a lot of raising money, friends and family, people you know really well. I'm assuming you're getting beyond that circle now. How does that look? What does that look like for you when you're raising money?
For sure. So I had a strong network. I played professional basketball. I owned a youth basketball organization. People were trusting me with their children, right? So when it came to doing real estate, it was very easy to trust me with their financials. So that just came extremely natural. And then, I kind of broke down how we were doing it for the flips. I was guaranteeing the loan for essentially 90% of the capital that we needed. So the skin in the game that we were requiring of investors wasn't much. I had a lot of skin in the game. So that's always another good,
sure.
If you're an investor, you're like, okay, cool. Like this guy isn't going to, whatever. He's going to be a good fiduciary because he's in it as well.
Yep.
So we started that way. We're kind of transitioning from that into the 506c space, Reg D 506c space. And that limits us to only accredited investors, but that's okay because this experience that we've gotten has allowed us to start building a brand on Instagram and social media, and even in our locations, right, in our demographics, which will allow us to publicly raise among more polished and seasoned investors. I believe under 4A2, or it is in Jersey, we can either raise capital privately or partner with people strategically that had the capital. And at that point, you're not technically raising, you're partnering, but we structured it always the same.
Yeah.
So I just took everything that I understood and knew about raising capital for real estate deals. I knew that when you're wholesaling, you need to package the deal up to be a good looking deal, to sell it, to motivate to cash buyers.
Yep.
So that was like really the green light. It was like, I can package this deal up equally as beautiful, right?
Yep.
Make it very plain and clear of why it's a good deal. And I can take that to my general network. I mean, anyone who's listening, start off mom, dad, aunt, uncle, cousin, anyone who is doing okay for themselves and can comfortably invest. Yeah, come on and invest. And our mission at first was like young people, millennials, like we're going to be what breaks millennials through in real estate, which is very admirable. It didn't really last long because compliance laws and stuff, but B, we understood that even from an investor relations and customer service perspective, it wasn't the best bet for the company. It didn't even allow me to be the most responsible fiduciary to other investors who might not be a young millennial, because we're raising capital among people that don't understand.
Yep.
And that's really what all the laws are laid out to do, is protect the people that don't understand. Right. So, but I'm saying all that to say it was very easy because I developed a trustworthy brand and network and relationship my whole life.
Yeah.
Being a good person paid off. So when I decided to launch a real estate company, everyone already knew that I was smart. Everyone knew I was competent. Everyone knew I was trustworthy. Everyone knew I was a good boy, right? And they had no problem in investing, and allowed us to scale extremely quickly in our first 2 years.
I always tell people that investors invest money with people, not companies, not prospectus, not track records. They have to like you and trust you as a person, and the rest almost doesn't matter. I mean, obviously the investment has to make sense, but man, people get all caught up and I don't have a lot of experience. I don't have a track record. No one's going to take me. Man, if they like you, if they trust you, they'll lend you money. I've gotten money. I've had money lent to me from people who had options that had a lot more experience than I did back in the day. But I have a question for you. And this is, I never do this. I really think it's bad interview style, but I want to go right back to the beginning of our interview when you talked about your upbringing and stuff. Because as I'm listening to you, I have a question. First of all, do you have any other siblings other than your brother that you mentioned?
Yeah, 3 siblings.
Okay. So 3 additional, and like you, your brother, and 2 more?
Yeah, me, my brother, and 2 more. Correct.
Okay. So I'm wondering, what do you think happened? Like, I know you sort of alluded to briefly, the dad situation was complicated, but what happened in your childhood, do you think, that produced, at least you and your brother, obviously you're doing really well, you're crushing it. Like, that's not a coincidence, right? There's something there that produced at least the 2 of you that I know of that are crushing it, right? What do you think that was? And again, I'm going back to like childhood, which is like the beginning of the interview. It's not really the focus, but I just think it makes a difference.
Yeah. So shameless plug. So I'm an author. I wrote a book. It's called Overcome, but it's a self-help book. So it's the key to unlocking your superhuman. It's not like a biography, but I used a, long story short, it's understanding that you are going through something was half the battle. So my older brother's story, we're 10 years apart. He's the oldest, I'm the second youngest. So we have 2 completely different stories and understanding. So when he was experiencing his success and I didn't have the same story, there was a period of time where I felt like I wasn't built for that same success because my story wasn't like that.
Yeah.
I had him as a resource, right? my father was doing better when I was 16 than when he was 16, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever. So, but once I was able to identify the things that I was going through, I was able to transform them into a superpower. So to answer your question, for me, like basketball was my everything at the time. I told you I went to 5 different high schools. Yeah. Because of my parents divorcing, I went to 5 schools that made me have to sit a half of basketball season my junior year, which is an important year for anyone who knows sports, right?
Yeah.
My senior year, second game, I broke my hand. I missed half the season. So I do an extra year of high school to get a college scholarship. That school gets shut down because it wasn't NCAA compliant. So I missed a whole freshman year of college.
Wow.
Right. And then my senior year of college, I tore my knee. I blew my knee out 8 games in. So I missed a whole senior year and still played professionally, which that inspired me to write my book. Literally, as I'm writing the book is when I'm understanding, like I'm learning myself. Mm-hmm. Oh, you're superhuman, and here's why. It was just not only overcoming the adversity, but even recognizing adversity. Everyone's adversity comes different. I didn't go to like prison like my brother did or my dad, right? Like our stories are different. Mm-hmm. I'm the only one of my siblings to graduate college, have a bachelor's degree. All of that kind of stuff, all of that kind of fit in. So you could look at it 2 ways. You could look at it as like privilege and, or you could you can identify like, okay, what are my obstacles and how do those obstacles make me better? So I don't think it's a coincidence in story, but it's certainly, we're very self-aware, both my brother and I, extremely emotionally intelligent. And I just think we both possess the talent to identify, well, this is amazing.
Yeah.
Like, this is amazing. And people don't say that about themselves enough over small things, like you once you start identifying like, hey, this is amazing. Like what I just did was amazing. So when I started identifying that is when I kind of developed my superpower. And honestly, right after I wrote that book is right when I got into real estate.
Nice.
That's when I realized I can go in any industry and crush it.
Totally. And, something that really doesn't get enough play in this world is being self-aware. I think people who are self-aware, for the better and for the worse, they can see what they're great at and they get it, and they know what they're not great at or where they have failed or whatever, like they fall short, and they own it. Like those people are dangerous.
Yeah, all that is huge. That's a superpower in itself.
It sure is, and it's not common. I just don't see it a lot in the world. Seriously, people are way willing to see their strengths. That's not as uncommon, but to acknowledge and be fully aware of their weaknesses, and the things that they're not great at, like that's rare. Because when you know that, then you can build. We didn't really get into it this time, and we'll do it on part 2, right? But that's when you learn, when you start building a team around you. You build a team that complements you. And I know I'm very self-aware too. I feel like I'm self-aware to a fault. My dad was a Marine. Yeah. Man, you want to know your faults? You get raised by a Marine. He'll show them. He'll point them out. He'll bring them out. So I realized at a youngish age what I wasn't good at, where I needed help in my business. And I brought people in who were great where I wasn't. And the power in that is off the charts. And I know you're big on team, and we will have to do a part 2 because I want to get into, I think, team building and what that means to your success and what it means to your freedom of time, right? Because I know part of what you talk about is not being a slave, getting on the hamster, not working 80, quitting a 9 to 5 just to work 80 hours for yourself is stupid, right? So how do you build that team around you, that network that allows you to be successful financially, them to be successful financially, but also give you back your life and have that quality of time?
Partnerships and a good team are literally the number one real estate hack.
Yeah.
I agree. Don't care what anyone says.
I agree.
Partnership and a good team. The team could be your investors, whatever. It could be a credit partner, and that's all they do is they guarantee all your. But like you said, when you have a team that complements you, you're just going to be clicking, man. Golden State Warriors. It's going to be easy for you. We hit that level on a small scale. Obviously, we're still new, so I'm just trying to figure out how to scale it. I'm like, this is amazing. I have deals going on in this state, deals in that state. I got a multifamily partner. I got a fix and flip partner, so it all comes into play. Even how you just mentioned your Marine father, like our stories are completely different, but because of self-awareness, we understood how to leverage or turn our stories, turn our, whatever you want to call it, adversity, if you want to call it that, into a strong character who
Yep.
can have amazing podcast or run a small fix and flip syndication real estate operation
Yep.
or play professional basketball or whatever. So
absolutely. Dude, listen, like I said, we'll have to do a part 2. We'll have to do this, and I want to focus really hard on teams, building teams. How do you create a team that loves to come and work and crush it for you? But let's tell people, first of all, where they can find you. If somebody says, I need to know more, I want to get in his world. And by the way, guys, definitely go check out the book, Overcome. Is it on Amazon, or do they have to go somewhere else?
No, it's on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
All right. Overcome, the key to unlocking your superhuman. Guys, go get it. Go buy it. I know you'll be glad you did, but where can they find you if they want to get more into your world?
Yeah, first things first, if you go to artmorrison3.com, so that's artmorrison, III.com, a pop-up is going to pop up and it's going to give you the book for free in
sweet.
ebook form, though. So
Nice.
I would love if you support and bought, an actual hard copy, but the ebook is there. My goal is I love, not one person has read that and said this sucks. Not one person has read it and said, Art, you're amazing. Everyone reads it and says, wow, man, like this really helped me, right. With my whatever, mental health or my self-esteem. So I encourage everyone to read it because it is really good. And it's designed in a way that forces you to take notes on yourself and identify,
Nice.
like really have discovery. The other place is Instagram. It's the same as my website. It's Art Morrison III, Art Morrison III. Those 2 locations will give you everything you need to know about me and what we do. And hopefully you can, be inspired by either of those pages or locations.
Love it. I love it, man. Way to put the work in and be so successful. It is hugely inspirational, and I've loved having you on. I've loved this conversation. We'll come back and do a part 2 soon. But for now, thanks for being here, man. I really appreciate it.
Mike, I appreciate you having me. It's all, like I said, I'm only 3 years in. This is all still surreal. I mean, it's not like I'm on bigger pockets or whatever right now. But it's just you appreciating and seeing, who I am in real estate to me is just like, it's major right now. So I really, really appreciate you, Mike. This is one of my best interviews yet. So you pulled the best out of me. I appreciate it.
Good. I appreciate that. Guys, go check them out. Man, just thanks for being here, Art. I really do appreciate your time. And we'll have to have you on, once a year. We'll chronicle, we'll document your success as you go. And I can say I knew you when you were just kind of new to this.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. I appreciate it.
All right, man. We'll talk. Yeah, go ahead.
No, best of luck to you and the podcast and the growth. I really do love it. So I'm going to be sharing it with everyone.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, man. We'll see you next time. That was a fun interview. I enjoyed talking to Art, and I will absolutely do a part 2 with him. I don't normally think about that during an interview, but there was stuff I wanted to cover that I know he has a lot of experience and a lot to say about. So I think getting back with him in a few months and talking about the team building and what his goals are for the distant future, how he's going to build his empire would be really, really interesting for everybody. So we'll get back and talk about that stuff because I think it's huge, especially at some point in your journey. Building that team is absolutely, like he said, it's everything, right? That's the hack. That's the ultimate real estate hack, is building a team and letting other people be great and do things that you are not as good as them. So it's all part of it, guys. Again, hopefully you enjoyed that, but the number one thing is, hopefully you took from this, like you take from basically every interview that I do, you've got to get out there and get started. You've got to get the wheels in motion. You can't sit around and think about it forever. Thinking about things do not make them happen. No matter what anybody tells you, you must take action. Get out there and get started today. Make this year the best year. And if you want help with that, if you want me to be in your corner, if you want me to really dive in and take a serious interest in your business and help you, you can go to sevenfigureinvestor.com. That's the word 7, sevenfigureinvestor.com. Sign up, and I'll see to it that you have the year you plan on having and you build the business that you've always wanted. Okay, we'll talk to you next time.